Hey kids, we're back on this Ford Focus 2016. Have the transmission on the floor and the new parts are in, so we're going to install those. I just want to go over a couple things that I found along the way. This here is the air intake, and when I was taking that off, we found that there was damage to one side of these little nubs that go into the grommets. That was the first thing I found. And then once we started taking the transmission off, there was two of these bell housing bolts that were missing. And that was the next bad thing that I found. So that kind of said, well, there's been somebody into this transmission before. And this is what I found lately. This is a TCM. I know it's upside down. All the writing was on it a few minutes ago, and I tried to clean it, and whatever's on there for a chemical wiped the ink off, but you can still see K04. Now, this car here, better without the light on. This car is a late 2016, and it is supposed to have a K05 TCM on it. The late 2016, 2017, and 2018, they all received an updated TCM. So the fact that this one here has the K04 is telling me that it was probably a used transmission that has been put in here. Don't know for sure, but that's what I am now thinking. Now I want to show you one more thing under the car that I found that's kind of not good. All right, we're under the left front fender, and that right there is your PCM. It's supposed to be in a plastic enclosure that's missing. And look at this mess. I don't know what would ever cause someone to have to do this, but every wire has been cut and reattached in the wiring harness. So that could be future problems for us. This here is the A actuator, the one that it was complaining about. I just want to take this off. This is an inverted E8. So the code we were getting was this A actuator was stuck, engaged. And this is the tool, the special tool that you put in there. And we'll see when we take this apart, but there's little forks in there that move up. There's another actuator over here. This one runs first, third, and fifth. And the one over here on the left runs second, fourth, sixth, and reverse. So you're supposed to turn this thing counterclockwise 10 to 14 times. And then you're supposed to see if it returns slowly. Which is exactly what they found at Ford, that it doesn't seem like it is stuck. We'll take this clutch out and then we'll have a closer look at that fork when we can see it a little better. But I agree with what they said. It doesn't seem stuck to me. I'm just going to take this other B actuator off. Alright, the first thing we need to do is remove this little clip. I have safety glasses on. Oh yeah, I wanted to spin this. It doesn't seem like there's any binding noises on it. There's that little clip. They send a new one with the kit. And then this little hub's supposed to come right out, which they will have a new one. And now there's a stronger clip right here, and I'm gonna put the puller on and just push this down just a hair to see if this will make it easier to get out. There's a lot of guys on the internet that don't use the puller, and that's fine. I just wanted to get the puller because I didn't know what we were dealing with. This looks kind of rusty to me, and I wanted to put it on using the proper tools because I've read a lot that if you have it a little bit wrong, it messes up your installation. So I want to give it my best effort. So it comes with a little special tool. I'll put this great big thing on here. Centered there, there, and there. Put some bolts to hold it down, and then we can push off the case. This here's the forcing bolt. I just left those loose so it would center itself. I just want to push this down a little bit to loosen up that clip. I'll go a little bit more. I heard it move, but let's go another touch. I'll take all these off. There's the shape, if anyone's wondering. Oh, is there a lot of force on that? Got that. So it's slanted inwards, almost like as if you had a triangle pointing up. But these are one-time use, so we're not going to reuse that. All right, so there's another tool here that's smaller, and this will push the clutch off the input shaft this time. We have these little gadgets that go on. I'll get that one in a minute. And this one here is offset a little bit so you can get around that corner. Everything's designed perfectly. Forgot to take those off. Those nuts. A lot of guys put two handles here and take two crowbars and just snap it down like that. Looks to work perfect. This little kit was on sale. And when I saw how rusty it was, I was like, oh, am I gonna cause problems to that input shaft if I mess that up? And a whole bunch of different things went through my head. So in the end, I broke down and bought something I probably won't ever use again. We'll hopefully get this done. And have success and never have to take it apart again as for as long as I own the car, at least. Pulling right off without any force, which is good. Alright, we're off. Pull out that clutch. Boys, that's heavy. There's that. So this is a little protective tower that we were pushing off right there like that. And there's your forks. We'll take a better look at those. These little things here are called Z washers or Z washers. And this right here is a throwout bearing. I see a lot of them online are broken, but this one looks good. The bearing is completely gummed up, and that's what I think's going on here. The forks are probably just stuck. Let's grab this. See that fork raising? I love to see how stuff works. I'd take this apart just to see how it works. Well, that seems to be working perfect. Well, seems all right. These are all going to be both going to be replaced. So. All right, let me grab a couple tools that will fit those. We'll get those out next. I don't know if you can see this, but this A actuator has a really wide spread right here, and the B actuator has a very narrow one. You can see all this clutch dust in here. That's probably why these forks aren't going in and out the way they should be. So there are 2 spring bolts on each fork, and they're E10s, and then there's 2 torque 45s holding them in. That was an E10, and now we're going Torx 45. Alright, I certainly do not want to break one of these bolts, but I'm going to have to come up with something different if it doesn't break free real fast, real easy. That's not even budging. There we go. Okay. Oh, where is... There we go. Alrighty, that's awesome. So these bad boys come out like this. And there's the spring bolts. And you sure can see how, first I wanted to show you this. See the difference in the width of the legs. And then under here, there's little rollers that roll on these. Look how dirty they are. You can see those. So that definitely wasn't good. I don't like that. Those rollers are rough. Everything's full of clutch dust. There, the 2 little bolts that were holding them in. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. There's a little locating dowel there, and there's another one over there. They're still in. Oh yeah, this center tower, we can take that out. And there's seals. I was wondering if we were going to see some liquid in here from the transmission. It's a dry clutch, so if we have any fluid coming through these seals, then that's an issue for a shutter. And we were having a lot of shutter, so I was worried about that. So we'll take those off. They're a T30. And the new kit comes with a new one of these. And can you see that brown color seal right there? The old seals that they started with were black. and they came out with a new design, and they colored them this copper color so you could tell them apart. And the seals aren't very expensive, but you need another kit to get them in. There's this seal here, and there's another seal down in there. And what most people do, if they don't see any leakage, they leave them. And I don't see any leakage, and as long as they're the copper color, you should be good. So I'm going to leave it there. We have everything out. I'm going to clean this all up the best I can with some brake fluid, and then we'll grab the new kit and we'll start to reinstall. So I'll turn you back on once I get this cleaned up. There's a tremendous amount of brake dust in here. Unbelievable. I'll try to get that all cleaned up and we'll go from there. Next thing I want to do is I bought new actuators, so I'm going to replace those. All these little fasteners have like a little cam on them, and when you push in, it sucks it on the connector, and when you pull out, it's supposed to come off, but they're very hard to get off. I didn't have that out all the way. They look to be the same. Uh-oh. And when you start pushing that in, it pulls that in. And that's a lock. There's that one. Pretty simple. I think they're probably still good. Since I have it all tore apart, I wanted to replace them all. And they were the same part number. They were crusty inside, so that was one of the reasons why I figured I should put new ones on. Where's that? This is Scheffler Repset 2CT 07233 clutch kit for Ford Fiesta Focus 1117. I'll put a link to this on the video. It's supposed to be OEM. And there's knockoff ones on there that are cheaper, and everybody has problems with them, so I would never buy something like that. The first thing I want to put on is this bearing support sleeve, and it has a little locating tab right there that goes into that spot right there. I like stuff that's dummy proof. That goes in there like that. Has a little card there that you can get install instructions off of. These are T30s. These are set at 8 Newton meters, which isn't very much. Alright, I got my mic back on, just in case. I guess I could do a voiceover if I have to, but just real quickly. The case didn't come as clean as I was expecting because the insides of these bell housings are quite rough. These pads are nice and smooth. I gave them a little sanding with Scotch-Brite. And these forks are indexed with these spring bolts. There's little serial numbers right here, and they match. I guess it's this one here, 240, 617, 1617. And this one here is 240, 617, 1617. 240, 617, 1617. This is your A fork. It has the wider part, and I don't know if you won't be able to see it probably in here, but there's a dowel to locate that one as well to make sure we're in this right spot. Just want to try to get those started with my fingers, even though there's not much room. Feel like I'm getting them in there to start it good. That one went in fine. again, there are little humps here and here, and these here are to fit right in there, and there's little lines to fit them up. It doesn't matter which one you have lined up as long as one of them's lined up. And the E10 okay, you want to put these actuators in, make sure they all line up. There's that one. And this one over here. As long as they're flush. While I tighten, that'll be good. Those T45s go 19 Newton meters. And then these E10s are 26 Newton meters. Now we can pull these little actuators out, because there's another step we have to do with those off. And these little blue things are just shipping safety pins. You can take those off. They're garbage. Alright, we're at a standstill. This is a major problem with this kit. There's two little tabs that hold this on, and I read a lot of stories about how they get broken in shipping. So this one's also broken, that little tab right there. There's also special grease that goes on these splines that wasn't included in the kit, and that's another complaint. So now I'm going to go to Ford and order this part, because I don't want to trust that these guys are going to send the right one through Amazon. But I'm going to write them a nastygram and at least tell them that it was broken. But I think I'm just going to go see how much they are, and if they're not too expensive, I'm going to get Ford to get me one. Here's some of that special grease. I went over to Ford and bought a new slave cylinder. So you're just supposed to put a little tiny bit on the end of each of these forks. Such a weird setup. know the clutch dust is going to get in all this grease you're putting on. And then you're supposed to put a little tiny bit on these splines. You're supposed to work that in. Then you're supposed to take a tiny little bit of transmission fluid and put that around here like that. That's laid out in these instructions. Apply the grease on the two splines, transmission fluid right there. Okay. All right, I'll try this again. I just didn't have it on properly. As you turn it, it'll find its way on there somehow. And then it'll all collapse there. Perfect. All right, that looks better. Boy, that's shaky, isn't it? There, I'm happy with that. So this is a handle from the CV half shaft, and this is an 11 mil wrench. So that worked. Now this thing here is supposed to be one-time use. I wasn't going to buy a new one, but I probably will end up getting something new, getting another new one. They're probably not very expensive, and Ford's been really helpful with parts. The guy over there has helped me a lot, so I don't have any problems going over there and getting a part. So my latest thing was when I went over to get that new slave cylinder, I mentioned before that I was short a couple of bell housing bolts, and when he brought up the transmission for my 2016, it never looked like this at all. He gave me the ID number off the transmission case, and I came home and I checked it, and this confirms what I thought. This is a used transmission out of a 2014, but it's okay. They're interchangeable between the 2014 and the 2016, so we're good there. push this on, I'm going to use this special puller. I don't really think I needed it, but I spent money, so we might as well use it. We need to push this clutch down just a hair so that little center tower comes up, so we can get that other little snap ring on it. There comes the center tower there. I'll show you better once I get it there. Let's have a look at that. I guess if you go too far here, any bit too far, you're going to have noise. So although this is taking me extra time, I'm just going to go easy here and make sure I get this part right. So this little snap ring has to go on there, and it has to push, you have to push this clutch down, and you have to get the snap ring under this little lip. See how this is shaped narrower at the top? That's the way that goes. Ow. I had to fight with it a little bit to get this to this point. I didn't have it on properly. So we want to push on that just enough for it to get in the groove on that tower. So let me get that set up again. I forgot to press record. As soon as I started twisting on it, it went in that groove. I'll show you when I get this off what it looks like. All right, you can see that snap ring went right into the groove there. Alrighty, the next thing we want to do is put this center hub on, and you can see there's a little rectangle that lines up with that one. There we go. And now there's supposed to be, oh yes, a little nylon nub. So there's this rectangular piece that we lined up, but right there's a little piece of white nylon, and when we put this other snap ring on, it has to, the space right here between the ends has to go across that, because if it's like that, it won't get into its little slot. So we need to put that, something like that right there. There's that. Next up is we need to unlock the clutch, and to do that we take that special tool and we turn that little screw in there 10 to 14 times counterclockwise, and we'll hear some noises as it unlocks. When I tried this, I was playing around with it before, I had a hard time holding the tool, so I'll give it my best shot here. Alright, so I'll put this in here and I'll try to hold it as we turn, which is not long enough. Alright, we'll try this. I can hear it moving already. Yep, fell out. And we did clutch A actuator first. Now I'm going to do B over here. Same thing. I'm having a hard time getting enough room here. It slipped out on me. Okay. Hopefully that's going to be okay. I didn't want that to happen. So the next thing we want to do is put these actuators in. Remember, these need to spline in. There, that one went in. This one went in. Now we can put the bolts in. Alright, the torque on these is 4 Newton meters or 35 inch-pounds. Which is not very much. And I'll do the B actuator. Same thing. So we're all put back together. Let's leave it there, and I'm sure we're over an hour of video. The next thing we'll be putting this thing back in the car. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for hanging out.